Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, criminal defense lawyer, board certified, I might add. That just puts me into a category of guys who've tried a lot of cases and know what they're doing in the courtroom. That's really what it means. Tried and true and tested. Now, today we're going to react a little bit to some comments that are circling around the internet about a young thug and snitching. But before we get to that, guess what? This is brought to you by eSign.com. eSign.com. Let's say you got a multi-million-dollar deal and you're on an island in the Bahamas. And all of a sudden, everything's going on except for your satellite laptop. And you're sitting there, and you've got to get this deal done. Otherwise, you're going to lose millions of dollars. Well, guess what? You can send this document over eSign.com. Somebody can sign it electronically. Day is saved. Remember, you get 3 signatures a month for free. You download the app, and you use it in your documents. It is awesome. I use it all the time for retainer agreements, especially when somebody's out of state. It is a great way, an efficient way to execute documents remotely. eSign.com, look at the link below. Now, young thug is in custody, obviously, awaiting his trial. And we've done a little bit of reaction to some of the things he's done in the courtroom. There was a decision, and he didn't get tagged with any responsibility for the stuff that went on in court, where somebody tried to give him a perk or whatever they tried to give him. So he's waiting trial. They're doing jury selection. But let's talk a little bit about snitches, okay? Seagoing snitches. Let's just play a little bit of this, and then we'll react to this.
You know, one thing I can say.
Doing a dime.
I don't know if everybody's the same, but one thing I can say is I honestly can see every person that tell. I honestly can see them telling.
Honestly, I can see anyone that's going to tell. I can see them telling. Now, guess what? So there are what? 28 people on this indictment. 28 people. You've got people from Ghana all the way down. Some people have taken deals. In fact, a lot of them have taken deals. And these are guys that he is looking square in the eye. His case is going to be bought and paid for with snitch testimony. That's the only way it happens. That's the only way it happens. And the only reason to snitch is why? Is because you hope that your case gets treated lighter because you cooperated with the government. Now, there's a couple things that happen to snitches. Number one, people always say, well, he's got a motivation to lie. That's not really true, actually, because you can't say something false on the stand. They have a motivation to tell the truth. The reason I say that is because if it's turned out that anything they said was provably false, they can get another charge, a perjury charge, and number two, they don't get the benefit of the bargain. And they've just put themselves out there as a snitch. There is retribution in the federal system all over the place for snitches. Guess what? One of the first things that you have to do when you show up to a federal prison, they ask for your paperwork. Why do they ask for your paperwork? They want to determine whether you've gotten a 5K, Cinco K, 5K 1.2 or whatever it is. It is a provision in the guidelines that allow for a reduced sentence for cooperators, for people who are snitches. Federal drug cases, for example, all federal drug cases, I don't care how many you have, everyone from the lowest to the highest, every single drug case in federal court is bought and paid for with what? Snitch testimony. 100%. When you're so overconfident that you can find a rat and you can ferret about, and then that's the problem with trusting people in a criminal organization. You look at Sammy the Bull. What did Sammy the Bull do? You know, that was in the mafia, Cosa Nostra, right? And what did Sammy the Bull do? He snitched. He snitched like crazy. And he snitched and he got off of a murder charge. For some people, snitching makes sense in their eyes. I don't represent snitches. When you're running or a part of a criminal organization, there's always the weak link, right? Who was it with Al Capone? It was the bookkeeper. There's always going to be some weak link.
Mr. Steele and Mr. Williams and Mr. Adams, experts are.
We see the face of young thug Jeffrey Williams looking surprised that there are people that he thought were loyal who are going to snitch to save their ass. It is part of the system. It's what people do. And they have to pay the price for that. Generally, you know, when you have snitches, they lock the courtroom when they testify, and it's kind of a big deal. I can tell you, I've destroyed many of snitches on the stand, especially if it's a jailhouse snitch. Somebody that doesn't know your client but says that they do, and all they did was read your client's paperwork. You just ask them, well, what's his wife's name? What's his daughter's name? When's the last time he did this? You just ask him all these personal questions that he'll have absolutely no idea about.
I won't never be surprised by somebody telling.
That's overconfidence. I saw the video we just played. I mean, he is surprised.
I can damn near, I can damn near tell you who will tell.
So you're a rat identifier.
Yes, sir. Right.
That's such bullshit. Here's the thing. When hubris gets you nowhere, to be honest with you, when you're at the top of your game, that's when you need to be on the most lookout. And not necessarily in this context, in every context. You know, you could be this guy who's got everything under the sun, and you think, I can do whatever I want. And that overconfidence can be your downfall. And it's definitely his downfall here.
Snake.
He has like a rat radar.
You got a rat. Damn, that's a company. Not rap radar. Rat radar.
Yeah, a radar.
A radar. A radar.
Radar. It's pretty funny really when you think about it. And one of the things they were talking about is 6ix9ine, and I haven't really brought up 6ix9ine on my channel because why? Because he's a fucking rat. He's a total snitch, and he got the benefit of that bargain. And people who do that so publicly wind up being vulnerable, especially in this drill culture. I mean, you're gonna catch me representing somebody in one of these large cases, where they're a snitch. Wouldn't do it. I mean, how does that even come to be to begin with, that you become a snitch? Well, if you have a snitch lawyer, the first thing the snitch lawyer does is he goes to the snitch and says, what do you know? You're kind of screwed here, and you're going to have to testify against these people if you want anything, if you want to save yourself. So the first thing they'll do is then they'll go to the U.S. attorney or the prosecuting attorney and sit down with them and the agents on the case. And what they do is they'll ask them all kinds of questions that they know the answer to. And if they lie about anything, they're gone. And then they show them photographs, and they go through every detail of everything. And if you hold anything back, you're just giving them a whole bunch of information, and you're fucked. Because if you lie, you sign an agreement ahead of time, a proffer agreement. And the proffer agreement says, look, you are truthful with us. We're not going to use any of this information against you. For sentencing purposes, unless you get on the stand and testify opposite of what you've already said. Okay, then they can use it against you. They take that information and then they run with it, and if it helps them, the person gets the benefit of the bargain. And there's usually no guarantees. The government doesn't guarantee you a certain amount, and the judge doesn't give you a certain amount. And I'll take that back. I represented somebody one time who cooperated with the government, and they cooperated to exonerate somebody, if you can believe that. And so when they did that, they gave all this information out, and the government took it, and guess what? They dismissed his charges because he was really not guilty. And then the government gave him a 5K, gave him a reduction in his sentence because he exonerated somebody. That, my friends, is that's worthy of that's not snitching actually, but it's worthy of a reduction in your sentence if you help exonerate somebody.
And they could be like, slime.
That's a rat.
But that's a rat.
Let me say this.
See, this stuff is really not even funny now. I mean, it is kind of ironic that they're talking about this stuff, and look where he's sitting. He's sitting in jail, and all of his associates or buddies, whatever you want to call them, are now trying to save their ass and snitching on it.
Matter in rap anymore?
What, rap?
Yeah, rap.
Do what matter?
Niggas being rats.
Yes. Because like these days in rap, it's getting back to the point where it's getting back to you kind of sort of speaking on what you do. It's kind of getting to that.
Okay.
So it's like, if you're a rat, it's like, I can't really listen. I can't listen to nothing you saying unless you saying some godly shit. You know what I'm saying? Unless
So what Thug is saying here is that, you know, it's not okay to tell on other people, but it's okay to self-snitch, which I don't agree. Because he's saying you tell on what you do. And I remember we've talked a lot about using rap lyrics in court, you know. When you're talking about what you do, if it's factual, sorry, it comes in. And that is a version of self-snitching. And that's what he's talking about. This case with Thug is going to be riddled with snitches. Snitches that are his close friends. Gunna's going to probably testify. I bet you any money Gunna testifies. And some of the other people are going to testify. The people who rented that car or used that car are going to have to testify that Thug was the one who rented it and gave the instructions. Without anybody testifying that he gave instructions, he walks. Period. So this is just our little, you know, reaction to this thing kind of blowing up online. We'll see what happens. We'll keep following the Young Thug trial, Jeffrey Williams, and we'll talk to you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?